Hello. I am here to talk about OHMS, which stands for Oral History Metadata Synchronizer. OHMS was created by Dr. Doug Boyd from the University of Kentucky. He's an oral historian with his PhD in folklore from the University of Indiana, and he created OHMS with the idea of enhancing the current way users can interact with the materials of different oral history projects, and that their overall experience is more efficient. I should note that my experience with the software is still rudimentary, as I've only had access to it for a short while, but I will attempt to demonstrate what I know of it thus far. The issue that Doug is attempting to tackle with OHMS is that of findability. Now, if you've never seen or heard an oral history before, the basic premise is that a subject is allowed to talk about their personal experiences or reactions to an event, either with or without prompting by the interviewer. These collective experiences are organized in a way to present an organic, memorable retelling of events, usually with a stunning amount of detail. Oral history projects have been created around many different populations and topics, such as the Shoah Foundation's Holocaust Oral History Archive, the 9/11 Oral History Project, and the ACT UP Oral History Project, where I work, and my connection with OHMS originates. The problem with conversation is that a subject could talk for hours about, let's just use Doug's example of civil rights, but never actually say the phrase civil rights. So if a user were to perform a full text search, they would come up empty-handed, or if they did find the one or two instances, they may have missed several highly relevant sections either earlier or later in the document. With this in mind, Doug attempts to make these interviews completely searchable through a process which I will now demonstrate. So as we can see, we have these two interviews. One is the interview with Moises Augusto, which is part of the ACT UP collection, which is what I work for, the ACT UP Oral History Project, and an interview with Elmer T. Lee, which is part of another group's oral history project related to University of Kentucky. I unfortunately do not have access to this particular one, but I do have another interview from this collection that I can show you. Now, the layout is very simple in terms of organizing the different elements of the interview. Now, I'll click on this link, preview, which will bring me to Moises Augusto's interview page. The way it's laid out is we have a title, the collection, some small information about the interview, this is number 3 in the collection. The interviewer's name is Sarah Schulman, and the full-length video is 1 hour and 42 minutes and 9 seconds. It's hosted on Bright Cove servers at the moment, and it will play its full length at the moment. But what we have down here is interesting. We have these time-coded segments, which they're not complete on this transcript right now because it was only put up a few weeks ago. But I will show you a completed version in a second. I just really wanted to show you the full-length interview.
And I don't know what he thought, but he said, come to my office. And when I told him, then all the group started. It wasn't students,
So as you can see, the full interview is on the website right now. There are 2 ways to view it. There's either the transcript, which is broken down by minute markers. So if I were to click 5 minutes, what it should do is bring me to the 5-minute mark of the video.
And,
so if I'm reading the transcript and I want to,
get out of my way.
if I'm reading the transcript and I want to, I say, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I can click this and then watch the video and see exactly where I was interested in looking. 10 minutes, okay. I can also search by keyword. So because the ACT UP Oral History Project deals with HIV and AIDS activism in the 80s and 90s in New York City, I will search for a term that I can guarantee will be in here, which is AIDS. Search. Now, it brings me a list of every time that word has been used. And then I can click on any of these, and it will take me right to that section, highlight it within the transcript, and then I can click on the time code, and it will bring me right to that section of the interview.
It was, you know, it was.
Now this section I'll talk about, but I will use an existing interview that has already been completed, which is that of Joseph Tyler Gayhart, which is part of the Colonel Arthur L. Kelly American Veterans Oral History Collection, From Combat to Kentucky. So this is an oral history project that Doug Boyd has started OHMS with. It is part of his initial wave of interviews. And what's interesting about it is it's a traditional oral history project. Now, as you can see, these are a lot more filled in all the way down. I'm not sure how long this is. 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 27 seconds. I'll just click on one. I'll click on boot camp. So now here I have a section. It starts at 23 minutes and 34 seconds, and it goes until 39 minutes and 47 seconds, presumably. It gives me, I have a partial section of the transcript so that I can use it to quickly sort through the information in the transcript, which I'll actually just move over so you can see how it's formatted. As you can, he spells out his name. And again, this is broken down by minute-marked time code where I can click and jump.
And that was kind of the, I guess you'd say, the big military influence that had. It didn't really.
Anyway. And then I will search for a keyword. I'm not sure. I'll pick one that I see, Air Force. So there are 3 instances of Air Force being used. And again, it works the same way as the previous demonstration of AIDS. I'll switch back to index. So the way it works is it's a partial transcript section. I remember my trip to Paris Island more than I remember my deployment to Afghanistan. Segment synopsis, which is essentially what the interviewee is talking about in this particular section between 2334 and 3947. And keywords, so that if you're looking for something in particular, these are searchable. And it also allows you to say, oh, okay, this is about his time in boot camp, which is obvious from the title. But also talks about Paris Island and South Carolina, which is not evident right immediately. And then the subject is, of course, Marines. Now, I'll click on a different one, deployment. Same thing, partial transcript, segment synopsis, keywords, and subjects. And then I will now show you the behind the scenes, man behind the curtain. Okay, so I will now go back to this page, the main page where it lists everything, and I will click on the metadata for Moises Augusto. As you can see, it has standard metadata fields, titer, association number, which is the interview number, interviewee, interviewer, date, collection ID, collection, what else is relevant? Subject, now unfortunately, we would love to add subjects, but because the topics that they talk about are so vast, to list everything would just be ridiculous, at least in terms of OHMS, because as I showed you, you can break down the interview by section through time code and list the subjects that way. Duration should be actually filled in. I'll fill that in later. And then all other sorts of erroneous metadata. Permissions, rights, who gave us the money so that we could do this. And I will return. Here's the index. This is where I can actually create where I can create a section. Let's say I'm going to move up to 31 minutes and 10 seconds. I can now, let's see what he's saying.
I remember that Jose Santini was going to go first. He was going to start setting the ground. Then Carlos Cordero and myself went like 2 weeks setting the ground.
So I now clicked tag, and the interview is running in the background, so I can actually update the time.
And then the rest of the group,
so if I want to start it at a later time, I could just keep clicking this, or I can reverse it.
It was from the top of my head. It was the
so this is where I would start typing.
Spanish communication.
I'll call it the.
And then I remember that Jose Santini was going to go first. He was going to start setting the ground. Then Carlos Cordero and myself went like 2 weeks before. And then the rest of the group, Gilberto, which I forgot his last name. Then Gilbert, then other members, Cesar Carrasco, Candido Negron.
Anyway, I'm not going to do all of that, but this is an example of what you can do. You can also stop it. I can add a few keywords. I will say act up to Puerto Rico, which Moises Agosto was a part of. And as you can see, the keywords actually has a controlled vocabulary linked to it. So I can click act up to Puerto Rico, and I can search for something else. Let's see what we have under A. So now, because we've uploaded a comma-separated values-based index, a person who is organizing these transcripts and these interviews can use a controlled vocabulary created by either myself or my boss Jim or anybody else associated with the project. So the work can essentially be outsourced. Now these, as you can see, there's a lot of similar ones: active actions, active actions, active actions, active actions. It's because this interview is not very well tuned. We had a very I want to say inappropriate list of index terms to create the controlled vocabulary. Normally it will be fine-tuned. That's something that we're working on currently. And when that happens, hopefully a lot of these repetitions will be missing. We won't probably have a lot of, I mean, there's quite a lot. We won't have nearly this many to go through, because they'll be essentially, you know, that's a typo. Avram. It's actually supposed to be Abram. But I'll just click on this for now. Act up split, which is not true at all. Segment synopsis. I won't add that right now. I can hyperlink, link description, and I'll save. So let's just see now what I've done. Now I've created a segment with the information that I've offered. I can continue to edit, or I can delete it, which I will do once I'm finished with this, because it's not entirely accurate. But it was very easy to do, as you saw me do it, and hopefully it's done for the rest of the interviews. We currently have 157 interviews, I think, to do. Unfortunately, I'll probably be the one to do all of this. So I'm very grateful that it's very easy. I will return to the interviews now and show you, what else can I show you? Well, here's the Thesaurus Manager, which is where we uploaded the index, the terms, the controlled vocabulary. Unfortunately, I don't have, I mean, as you can see, subject list uploaded. None of these are mine because people have been using, I guess it's the full history of OHMs and not just our project. But it's comma-separated values. It's not difficult to do at all. Okay, I don't have a thesaurus file to upload for you, actually. I'm sorry. But, I mean, as you can see from before, when I was tagging the interviews, the files, the list that came up is essentially what we uploaded. Now, I didn't actually upload that. Doug Boyd did it himself for our initial interview. So we're hoping to get a second interview up, and the point of the second interview is actually so that I and my counterpart at the new school can work on the process of actually uploading everything and essentially putting a name to the face in terms of this is the process we have to go through. These are the actions we have to take to complete our goal, as opposed to being presented with a completed project, which is, well, semi-completed project, which is Moises Augusto's interview, and then having to work backwards from it. So, I mean, me personally, I like to just make mistakes and fix them along the way, as opposed to just being told what to do or, having something handed to me. So that's OHMS. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief and hopefully interesting walkthrough. Please check it out. Unfortunately, you cannot just access OHMS. You have to be invited by Doug Boyd. You have to have a purpose and a collection to work on. So if you do have a collection and you feel like OHMS could be beneficial to you in some way, I recommend that you contact Doug Boyd. He is very easy to find. You can Google him. It's Dr. Doug, Dougboyd, from the University of Kentucky. And enjoy. Be well.